Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to ClearSpan's Warehousing and Storage Facilities webinar. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'd like to introduce Jay Sabia, one of our truss arch specialists here at ClearSpan. Today, Jay will explain the benefits of our Hercules Truss Arch Buildings and how they compare to traditional wood or steel buildings, as well as provide general information on installation and customization options. We'll have a question and answer session immediately following today's presentation, during which Jay will answer all of your questions about Hercules Truss Arch Buildings and their use as warehousing and manufacturing facilities. I will now hand the mic over to Jay and we'll get started. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you everybody for joining us today. My name is Jay Sabia. Just to give you kind of a brief rundown, give you a little bit of background on me, and then we'll go right into our presentation. I've been with ClearSpan Fabric Structures for about 7 years, really specializing here in the warehousing and storage need buildings that we sell. In my past, before I was here, I actually helped to set up a bunch of distribution centers for Walmart stores. So if you have any questions on that, I can help you with that as well. But since I've been here, I've put up quite a few of these storage solutions. Now, through our presentation today, we're going to go over quite a few things, a little bit about our company, a little bit about the buildings themselves, the features and benefits of these buildings as well. We'll go into some of the differences between ClearSpan Fabric Structures and your traditional wood and steel buildings. We'll go through some of your installation options and then what your next steps are to work with us here at ClearSpan Fabric Structures. Now, let's start a little bit about the company. You know, we're the leading manufacturer in the U.S. of tension fabric structures. We have 2 main locations, one in South Windsor, Connecticut, our home office, and the other in Dyersville, Iowa. You can see the pictures here on the right-hand side of the slide. Dyersville, Iowa is our main manufacturing plant. It is our design warehouse as well, so all of our engineers, everyone works out of that office. We've been in business here since 1979. Our sales department, customer service, all that is located out of South Windsor, Connecticut. Next slide. Okay. Now, when you work with ClearSpan Fabric Structures, we're really going to help you from the beginning right to the end with the project. Now, when you look at most competitive companies, you're going to work locally with the dealer, something of that effect. With us, you're going to come right to us. We're going to help you through design, right through building the actual building. So we're going to help you with all your concepts, everything you're looking at, all the way through the end of your project. We have our own in-house engineers who possess extensive civil, industrial, and structural engineering experience, and who are able to stamp and engineer your building in all 50 states and including most provinces of Canada. Now, our manufacturing facility, you can see a couple pictures here, better pictures than the other one we showed. Our newest building, our 160 by 320, is actually our welding facility for your truss arch structures. You'll see that in the upper right-hand side. You'll also see on the bottom of the slide a couple of the guys welding some of our trusses and our new robotic welder, which in that picture is actually welding one of our trusses for a 65 wide building. Now, the upper right-hand corner here is actually a second layer, a second level inside our building that is our fabric manufacturing area. So this is where we're going to make the larger covers for these warehousing buildings that you're looking for. Now, some of the advantages when looking at ClearSpan Fabric Structures is that you are looking at a 100% American-owned and operated company who's going to, again, help you right through concept, through construction when you're looking at these buildings. So when you work with ClearSpan, you're really working with a reliable American company instead of a company that's maybe outsourcing or working outside the company. We are exceedingly experienced in helping American companies work and get everything stored that they need to. So ClearSpan Fabric Structures, in addition to what we do for warehousing and those things, we really are a building of 1,000 uses. So just a couple examples here. You'll see the Frito-Lay building here. They actually manufacture the bags that Sun Chips come in inside that structure, as well as the Dream Park Equestrian Center in New Jersey. The Anacostia Boathouse is actually a warehousing building in itself where they store a lot of their boats for their boat club. Small Mine Development, you see down on the bottom left, that's a building used for both workshop, warehousing, storage, all sorts of things. Steel Dynamics is actually a building used to manufacture and store rails that for the railroad companies throughout the U.S. And then there's the University of Connecticut, UConn, has a composting building not too far here from us in Connecticut. Now, a little bit about our buildings. You know, we use the finest quality products you're going to find in any fabric building anywhere. We use all USA-made American steel, all triple galvanized, extremely durable stuff. We use the biggest sizes, the thickest gauges you're going to find. The fabric itself, we use primarily a 12.5-ounce ripstop polyethylene fabric. Now, we do offer other fabrics, but this is the one that we warranty for the longest. This is your 15-year warranted fabric. Over its lifespan, it's going to last more like 20 to 25 instead of that 15. So very excellent fabric for what you're doing. But we do offer other things if there's something else you needed. We actually design your building for your specific location. Now, a little bit back to those guys that design your buildings for all 50 states. We're going to actually put enough steel and enough fabric, enough cabling into your building for wherever you're located. So someone in Maine is going to get a little bit more steel than someone, say, in Kentucky in their building, just to make sure it deals properly with wind and snow loads. And currently we offer buildings from 20 feet wide to about 300 feet wide in our engineered designed warehouse buildings. These are just some popular sizes that we see in our buildings. You know, typically the rounded style buildings you'll see here, the 45, 55, 65, and 72 wide buildings are actually a little bit more affordable per square foot, while the Gothic style buildings offer a lot more space. So if you're doing anything with pallet racking, super stacks, anything where you're going to stack high, the larger Gothic style, the 83 wide, the 100, the 120, or even down into that 50 wide building are buildings that will give you a little bit extra space. Okay. Now, just a couple ideas on foundation. When we're looking at these buildings, you have quite a few different options. Now, just a couple that are shown here. Some buildings are put on individual concrete piers, some on concrete blocks. So the concrete blocks typically used are 2 feet wide, 2 feet tall, and 6 foot long. The building on the bottom left here you'll see is on 3 blocks high. Excellent for pushing materials up against it, as well as just making your building portable. When you're looking at putting up a building, most people want to get away from having to pull permits and doing some of those things. When you use concrete blocks for some of these buildings, you don't have to, because the building truly is portable. Now, one of the more popular things we're doing lately is our helical anchor package, and this shows our base plates just mounted to them. Now, these are a large, long steel helical anchor that goes down usually between 7 and 15 feet into the ground, that has a large base plate on top of it, fully engineered foundation that you can remove later. So this is something else that's going to keep your foundation costs low, keep the building portable, and actually speed up production time, because those can be moved within a day. The other options you'll see here are concrete slab, which is on the bottom right, which you can bolt the building down to. And if you choose the blocks, the helicals, or piers, you can use an asphalt floor in the interior. You can also use gravel, something to that effect, or just leave it dirt if that would work for you. Just some of our popular options here. On the top right, you'll see an interior office that we actually built in our Iowa facility. Fantastic option. There's bathrooms in there, office for some of the supervisors that work out in our floor in Iowa. But we've seen a lot of other things done too. We just finished a mine actually that did something very similar. Other offices and bathroom options would be dropping construction trailers, which are very inexpensive inside of our structures to use as an office, or just framing out and building like this. A mezzanine deck, which is be a second layer inside the building. So a lot of our buildings are very tall. For example, our 100-wide building in Iowa is actually 42 feet tall. So we built a second level that's about 12 feet off the ground. We still have storage underneath, and on top is actually where we make the fabric that we showed you earlier. You can also put bays in the side of the building. So we have truck loading dock bays on the side that you'll see on the left. Now, one of the big reasons people pick ClearSpan fabric structures is because they're economical. Now, the low cost per square foot, because the buildings are using a fabric, usually range somewhere between $4 and $12, and we can really customize any option you want to try to fit into that budget. The buildings give you great covered storage. Now, we work with a lot of recycling companies, things like that, that are looking to store materials that just can't get wet and they have a lot of runoff, things like that. So you want to make sure you're covering everything you have so it doesn't blow away, doesn't cost you anything additional that way. One of the bigger reasons people buy our buildings is because of the abundant natural light. Now, during the day, you won't run a single light fixture inside our structures. It's very inexpensive to run light during the night, even if you are running 24 hours, just because the buildings themselves reflect light, which allows you to use about half the light fixtures you would in a normal structure. Other reasons you can see in the picture here, the buildings can be relocated. That particular building was in New York. They were lifting it with a crane to move it from site to pour concrete underneath it. And if you were to not need the building for whatever you're using it for today, the buildings can be taken down, moved, and used for different applications later on. So we have a lot of people that do remarket the buildings 5 to 10 years down the road. Now, here's a slide kind of on our lighting costs, and this is just kind of an estimate on what you'd be looking at comparing a fabric building to a steel or wood barn. Now, if you look at the number of fixtures between the two different buildings, right up front, you're looking at about 40 light fixtures on the steel building and far fewer with the fabric building. If you were to look at the cost of running all the electrical wire, the fixtures themselves, just in the beginning, on a building that size, you're looking at an initial savings of about $8,750. And then if you really look deeper into it, you're going to look at, over the first 20 years, running those light fixtures, maintaining those light fixtures, changing bulbs, changing ballast, doing all those things, you could be saving upwards of $139,000 to $140,000. So your long-term costs are much, much lower in these buildings. You don't have to have a lift on site to change bulbs as often. You don't have to do any of those things to be able to work on the fixtures. One of the other big advantages of fabric buildings over your conventional buildings, because they're considered portable and you can move them, you can take advantage of Section 179, which is a depreciation. So essentially what you're doing here is you're writing a building like this off like equipment instead of trying to write it off like a building. Now, your typical building is going to take about 39 to 40 years to write off. So we just did a brief little estimate here. Let's say we spent $100,000 on a ClearSpan fabric structure and then spend $100,000 on a wood or steel structure. If you write off that building, usually Section 179 allows you to typically write off about $250,000 a year in equipment. So if we were able to depreciate the whole fabric building, you're going to get about a $35,000 tax break on that building. And if you reinvest that money over the first 19 years at even just a low 4% return, you can actually make $60,000 on that building. So instead of spending $100,000 and getting nothing back with the depreciation over 39 years, you could spend $100,000 and earn $60,000 back just in saving that money and reinvesting it. Now, one of the huge reasons people, especially for warehousing, buy these buildings, and you'll see a couple pictures here. On the bottom left here, this is a building in Honduras. They hung a conveyor inside this structure, and they distribute salt in that building. And this is a huge structure, a huge building, no interior columns in these buildings. So we really are ClearSpan. When you look at our name, it really is what we are. So there's no interior columns, nothing to get in the way. Your machines, as they drive around, forklifts, whatever it may be, whatever you're doing, isn't going to have any obstruction in between it that has any kind of structural source from the building. So that's why for salt storage, there's just nothing better. You see on the upper right-hand side here, they're welding inside that structure at Stony Brook Manufacturing, and because they don't have any interior posts, anything like that, they are estimating that they're about 60% higher in production because they don't have to work around what was in their other building. One of the other big things that we find in the industry lately is really the green or LEED initiative. And one of the great things about our buildings is the steel we use is all recycled, all remanufactured into the steel we use today. The frames and covers can be recycled afterwards if you don't need them anymore. The short construction times reduce your emission footprint, so you're looking at a building that really can be certified as LEED green. There is a process to do that, and we can help you do that as well, but that's something that has great tax benefits when you're looking at buildings. Now, and our employees in Iowa would actually testify to this more than anybody, the working conditions inside fabric buildings are fantastic. The natural light you're going to get through, just gives a much happier environment. Just look at these two pictures we have here. This is actually our building in Iowa. It's 100 feet wide, 780 feet long. See our pallet racking in there. Look how bright and airy that can be. If you're looking at that compared to the building on the right, which actually has all its lights on, very dark, still has windows open, still very dark. These two environments are completely different. In a big lit open warehouse, you're going to see things. You're not going to trip over hazards as often. Much nicer place to work. And lower injuries, things like that. They lower your insurance. They keep your safety records down. Much, much better. When you're in these darker buildings, it's just not a happy environment, and you're going to see more people get injured, things like that. Now, you'll see here some super sacks in the building on the left here. Great example of warehousing in our structures. And then you'll see kind of a more beat down used wood building on here on the right here. These buildings actually have pretty similar ages. The ClearSpan fabric building, no maintenance in these structures. Now the only thing you'll ever have to do is maybe change a cover every 20 to 25 years, which is maybe 1 to 2 days worth of work depending on the size of buildings you have. That's the only maintenance on our structures. And if you see here, there's no light fixtures in our building either here on the left, so no need to change the lights either. So all you're doing is working with the actual product inside our buildings. That's going to save you a ton of money in the long run. Think about the maintenance in this building on the right. You've got a wood barn that you've got to repaint, you've got to resurface, you've got to replace rotting wood. You know, you've got pests and things that are going to hide in that building. Pests tend to hide in dark, moldy places. There's no dark spots in our buildings. It doesn't get moldy. It's just not an area where pests, rats, rodents, insects are going to try to stick around. They're going to be in that building on the right. Construction costs, when you look at fabric buildings compared to your typical steel buildings, there's a huge difference. Now, this building you'll see here on the left went up in about 2 weeks, and it's a big building. That building's 100 feet wide, and I think it's 240 feet long. 2 weeks to put that building up is absolutely no time at all. When you look at the building on the right, you know, big steel buildings, all these I-beams, they just take forever. Buildings like that can take months, which costs a lot more. You've got to pay these guys to be out there to work a lot longer, bigger foundations. It's a lot more expensive to be in a traditional wood or steel building, and you don't have the building when you need it. Our building's in and up in days, weeks at the most. You have three main options when looking to install your ClearSpan fabric structure. Now, the quickest option is obviously going to be us to come out to put the building up. Now, we can turnkey right from the beginning to the end, foundation all the way up to the building. Not a problem for us at all. Very quick. Our crews come, we bring all our own equipment, and we leave just the same. So we clean up and we get out of there just the same. But that's not really your only option. Now, some people have construction crews themselves, may be construction companies, or have a company that you like to use there locally. We're more than happy at that point to do one of two things. One of those options would be for us to send out one of our site supervisors who's going to really help you through the process. He's going to roll up his sleeves. He's going to work with you completely, but he's really going to let you go through some of the shortcuts that we know what every part is. It goes a little quicker. Now, if you're a little bit more confident, which a lot of our customers are, you can install the buildings yourself. And through all of these, you're still going to maintain your warranty. So whether we install it, whether you install it, or whether we send out a site supervisor, we're still going to honor your 15-year warranty on the structure itself. Now, if you have any initial questions, we can run over those now, but this is just my basic contact information here. My name, again, is Jay Sabia. Best phone number for me is at 866-643-1010, extension 129. My email address is here as well at msabia@clearspan.com. We're going to take a quick break, see if we can't compile some of the questions you've put through, and then we'll come back and answer some of those. Okay, welcome back. Just to go over, we got about 5 questions here that we can answer for you that people sent in to us. First one is, what's the main difference between ClearSpan fabric structures and other fabric structures? Really the main difference between us and everyone else you're going to see, we touched a little bit on the fact that we do everything from concept all the way through completion, construction, everything. Most companies do a little bit of it. So you're either dealing with someone that's dealing someone else's buildings, a company that maybe makes the steel and outsources the fabric, a company that doesn't have their own engineers. We're fully staffed with engineering crews, installation crews, design crews, our sales and support staff here. We're everything for you. So you'll always either be calling our Connecticut or Iowa office, as opposed to trying to call a dealer or his manufacturer or a fabric guy that's 6 states away that's making the covers for him to try to work out a warranty claim or ask a question just because you're not sure of something. We're really your solution from beginning to end, and we will be there for you the whole time. So that's really what separates us from anybody else. Then we take a lot more pride in what we do than anybody else because we do it that way. Another question that came through for us here is on average delivery times and installation. So when you're looking at delivery times, if you were to order a building, and this can vary a little bit throughout the year, but right now your general delivery time from order to delivery on your average size building is going to probably be somewhere around 60 days. That can be quicker if it needs to be, so we've been known to get a lot of buildings out quite a bit faster. But at the same time, if you know you're 6 months out, it does make the process a lot smoother, so we do have a lot of people place orders, and we are right now taking a lot of orders for this upcoming fall, actually. So about 60 days would be a good place to note that. If you do want to see one of our buildings, because that was the next question we had, a lot of people do want to see them. They've never been in a fabric building, and really that's going to tell you a lot when you're looking at fabric structures. If you want to see one, I definitely encourage you, use my email address, use my phone number. We'll get in contact with you. We'll find someone near you to get you into a building. We do like to give people a phone call first, but we have customers in every state that will be more than happy to have you over, have you see their building, and you can ask them questions too, because there's no one you're going to believe more than them on anything, right? So definitely have a resource for that. We got a question on insulating the buildings. If you have anything that's more temperature sensitive, you can definitely insulate these buildings. We just recently insulated a building in Las Vegas to an R31, which is a very insulated building. Most people's homes aren't even insulated that well. They can definitely be insulated, so we can meet whatever needs you have. There's ways to still have natural light inside your structures. The picture here you're looking at on the bottom right actually is that building in Las Vegas that's been insulated completely to an R31, so definitely we can help you with that. The other question was on conveyors. I know we showed a picture of conveyors earlier. There's a couple different ways to do that. If you're going to hang the conveyor inside the building like the picture we showed, we just need to know a couple things, how much the conveyor weighs, things like that, but very easy to do that. So just we can lay out framing so that it will support it. If your conveyor is going to come through the side of the building or through the roof of the building, that's not a problem either. We do that all the time. We just need to know its location so that we can account for it when we design your structure. But other than that, I don't think we got any other questions. I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by today, taking a little bit of a listen. If you have any more questions, please feel free to use my contact information here.